right, everybody. Welcome back to episode 26 on the BJJ101 STOREROOM podcast. We have, again, Tim with us. All right. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, and he helps here at Garra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm Anton Manenko. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And today, again, we have Eduardo Diaz, who, again, is no stranger to the podcast, but we're actually going to talk with him and interview him a little bit about his, life, upbringing, experiences with jiu-jitsu and everything.
Excited. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on the other side of the... No, it's the other side of the couch. You know what I mean? Like
the hot seat.
Be more comfy. Hot seat. Thanks a lot for all the production today. You know, the hairstylist and all the fruit platter as well.
Makeup.
You know? So if you're going to be a guest here, guys, you're going to be well looked after. It's amazing.
Any requests?
I got just a little bit of prawn cocktail at the beginning, but now ready to go.
Good. So, Eduardo, we always start with the same kind of question that I want to ask, but can you just talk about like your childhood, growing up in Rio, and then like where you were introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because I know, because I've talked with you a little bit, but can you kind of like share that for everyone else to kind of listen to?
Sure. So I came from Rio de Janeiro, and I come from a middle-class family, working hard family. My mom was actually a special kids teacher, so that relates to you, Tim, as well. And then later on, she became the director of the school, which was quite funny. And then she moved to another school. When I was secondary school, she moved to another school, and then I went and studied there because you could study for free. And I used to have a fight and go see my mom. Which was
so she was the principal.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it was very strange, you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like,
It's a whole other world, sure.
And I think for me it got worse because, like I would suffer there and at home because she done the wrong thing, etc.,
Couldn't hide anywhere.
Exactly.
I knew straight away.
The punishment has to be outstanding because as an example,
Sure.
But, but look, I started doing judo actually. So when I was 5 years old, my mom, we had a policy at home, which I think I also tell parents nowadays, is like, she literally bribed us to do a sport. All right. So we're two kids. We live in an apartment. There was video games at that time. It was called Atari. And like if you, by then, people already knew there was an unhealthy thing to do. Not be exposed to the sun, not do sports, not socialize, not interact with other kids, not learning how to lose, not having something to strive for. And therefore she said, look, you guys, I don't care what sports you guys are going to do. You guys have to pick 2 different sports, and we're going to do that. I'll take you guys, which was in a Navy club in Brazil, and we started judo there. And the part of the bribe was like, you go to judo. After judo, you get an ice cream or a cheese bread, which is like a famous pie in Brazil, translating. And I remember as a 5 years old, I have very, very small recollections of the class itself, but I remember the ice creams, you know what I mean? After, so the bribe worked really well.
Yeah, in your world at that age, that's a pretty big deal. That's like...
And I think bribe is super important. Like, honestly, like, people work for money. Like, there's a bribe system already in place, right? Like, so the kid is not capable of deciding what is actually going to be beneficial for him in the future. He haven't arrived there yet. He doesn't have that already formulated in the brain, so a little bit of incentive, comes a long way, so it worked well. And I remember the judo coach, who eats carrots? And then everyone puts their hand up. Who eats, they have this thing with nutrition as well, you know what I mean, to get the kids away
promoting
from Meccas and all that.
Yeah, fruits and vegetables.
So your brother was doing it as well?
My brother was doing it as well, yes. Yes, the beginning we're both doing. And we kept doing for a while. I remember did a few competitions in judo as a kid. I remember later on I did judo at school as well. So then I become a little bit more serious.
At what age was that at? So from 5 to when you started competing?
I did judo, probably start competing about maybe 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it was early. I didn't even remember how the comps went. You know what I mean? Like I remember like
so long ago.
Yeah, and then at probably like 13, actually no, earlier. 12, I start doing for the school. So the school have a judo team, train after classes, and we go competing. And I remember I had a Kushiguruma, was a very good takedown.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot. Doesn't work well for jiu-jitsu because the guy can end up in your back, but in judo worked well. And I remember my mom used to give us a little chocolate bar. So, you know, there wasn't like protein bars back then. You're just young and you take a little juice and then a chocolate to have between fights and things like that. So that was my introduction to martial arts, which was really good. You know, judo was a big sport in Brazil. There was a lot of discipline, a lot of like respect, a lot of judo. You fall and you stand up all the time. You fall, you stand up. You know, so you basically you learn. Okay, you fall. Okay, go stand up or get taken down. Try again. And there's a lot of work to make it perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never good enough. So that was good. I think it was important to do a sport. That's what I say to kids nowadays. Just do a sport.
Do something, anything. Was your mum still the principal of the school where you were doing judo or not?
No, for a while, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then, for a while she was. And then she stopped working at that school and I kept going for a while there. Yeah.
Continue with the club.
Yeah.
Because you know everyone. And yeah, sure.
So what transition did it happen to coming into like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Like, were you playing other sports at the time as well? Like maybe you were playing soccer or something like that, or?
Yeah, so I did a lot of different sports. So I did soccer. Like I really enjoyed playing soccer with my friends, you know, like, and
were they the two sports that you picked when your mum said you had to pick two?
I went through a few.
Yeah.
So I went through basketball, you know what I mean? And then I was like, man, this is not for me. But my brother would go deep in the basketball. So, and then I went soccer. But there was a point where I actually said, Mom, I just want to do judo.
Okay.
I was enjoying the ice cream and everything else. So I just kept on the judo. And my brother kept more on the basketball.
Yeah.
A little bit of judo, but I stayed more on the judo afterwards. And that's how I took most of that part. But judo stayed with me even when I was in university. So judo stayed with me for a long time, doing high school all the time. And then after when I was doing university, I was tired of, you know, the work. I was working full time and then do university, which I think is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to do university at night. And when I get the bus from finish work and I get the bus, it's like an hour and a half to get to the uni. And when I get to the uni, this is like, man, 8 o'clock at night. And you're just like, man, what can I do that I can enjoy? And there was a judo. So I was like, man, I'll join in, you know. So
this
I did
is
judo.
at the university.
Yeah. Then I do judo. Then they invite me to compete. But then I was like, man, I don't want to, you know, too much, you know, like it's already... Because your life not going that direction, you know what I mean? You're already doing uni, you already have a full time. It just takes you away to another direction, and I just, but it was fun.
Well, so did like this is something that I think a lot of people in their adolescence kind of like struggle with and stuff like that. But like, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do as you were leaving like high school and stuff like that?
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
So what made you pick? Like, you just went to uni and tried things out, or like?
Honestly. I went to what I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I don't like maths. I don't like physics. I don't like, no. Okay, so there was there was a few that I like, right? And that's the problem of choosing too young. Then I go, well, this one has a lot of girls. And it was kind of funny because it was true. Like, it was me, maybe 3 or 4 guys, and everything else women. Like, everyone else was women. And I was like, wow, if, you know, like, that was my idea. This is, hit the nail, you know what I mean? Like, perfect target. And I remember it's kind of funny because I passed to a better university. This was not as good university, but in terms of beauty, was number 10. You know what I mean? Like, it was unbelievable. I was in heaven. I was waking up. I live far away, man. I was going happy in a bus every day. I said, I can do that. I can finish this university. But then I passed to the best university as the last person. You know, and there is a couple of drop-offs.
Okay, like a cutoff.
A cutoff.
Yeah.
So my one was after the cutoff. Was
Right.
someone that was already signed up and everything. And
They
for
stopped,
some
yeah.
reason, yeah. So then they called me. I can't remember what happened, but remember my parents said, "Oh man, you passed that one." That was a very like prestigious.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, no, I
I
don't
don't
want to
wanna
leave here.
go
Like
there.
I looked at that. There was a Harran, like like beautiful classroom. I was just like, no, don't take me out of here. This is gonna be. But like, so you to have an idea, I had classes with 2 models. They were outdoors, like serious, like international models.
Yeah.
They sitting on my classroom. So I was like, the class was there. I was just looking here at the girl. Oh my God! Oh, look how she drinks the water bottle. You know what I mean?
It's a thing of beauty.
But that university, I used to say that, and my friends the same. I think you'd fall in love every week. You
Yeah.
fall in love, and you go, man, I can't go to classroom. They go, man, what's up? We have to go. I fell in love, man. I have to stay here, look a little bit more. Yeah, it's very famous, like to have like very beautiful people, I guess.
At this university.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your degree in? Like, what were you studying?
So I did a advertising and propaganda degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5 years, and done that. Went work for an oil company.
Yeah.
The biggest oil
But you were
company.
also working and stuff like that as you were studying.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because like I've talked about that type of stuff with you before, and it's just kind of like you're saying, like it's really difficult at the time. You're studying and doing all these things, but it's like taking on a certain amount of challenge, and like it really helps you grow as a person in life and stuff like that.
Yeah, so as soon as so when I was young, as soon as I start, probably even before I start university,
Yeah.
my parents divorced, and I was a bit. I used jiu-jitsu was very important for me there was an escape for me.
So you
Jiu-
started jiu-jitsu then already, or you were still
Yeah,
doing
no, I
judo?
started jiu-jitsu at like 12.
Okay.
Yeah. And my parents, I don't know, probably I was like 16, 17. And when that happened, jiu-jitsu was a very good point for me. So instead of being at home, and things weren't too nice, I used to go to jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
and spend the whole afternoon there, and not only that, but having my parents were super busy, like they have to work to get things, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so nowadays I understand a lot better, because you have to work hard to provide things, it's
Yeah.
and it's an ongoing battle, like because you have to pay health insurance, you have to pay all your
Expenses, just
insurances,
expenses of life.
schools,
Yeah.
etc. To a point. So yeah, life, and so they couldn't be much with us, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So having jiu-jitsu, this is one thing I found amazing about jiu-jitsu. They have like different age groups at the same class.
Yeah.
So I was 14. I had a friend that was 60 at the time. Do you know what I mean? And we talk about things like as if he talks about me if he wasn't talking to a kid. He already considers me a man,
Yeah.
and
Or an equal to some
and
extent.
for a youth, for a person like on a teenager to get that respect, to receive that respect, he's already grown up. You know what I mean? He brings the best out of the kid. So that was very important for me. I think jiu-jitsu has this special gift that does because you're around a lot of people in a good environment. You know what I mean? What was your question?
Let's go back. I'll ask the question again about like all the stuff with your parents divorcing and starting that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what was it?
What was professional? My working.
Yeah, but you were doing some work. But let's just go back to the jiu-jitsu thing. I didn't know that you started at 12, so I thought you just kept doing judo up until you're in uni. So you started jiu-jitsu. How did that happen? And just talk about like doing jiu-jitsu all up until when you started to do certain things or almost go into doing your own stuff.
So
Working for yourself. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu. I was very fortunate in a jiu-jitsu world. I was super fortunate because I live in a condo.
Yeah.
And that condo has a lot of big names of jiu-jitsu living there. And
Did you know at the time, like, were you aware of these people or?
yes,
Like they
I
were
was,
famous or
because
whatever,
I
or?
was playing soccer. I was going to the beach and I was seeing fights happening.
Yeah.
And they they happening, and these guys are like, some of them were my friends, and they get in fights, and they you know, they kind of doing well in fights. There was a lot of fights back then in Brazil. It was very probably different than now. It was a lot more fights, and they doing well in fights, and they, you know, just look. I look up to them and I go, well, there are fights. Every party I go, there's a fight. Every concert I go, there's a fight. It's not a one-on-one fight. There was like a bros, right?
Mm.
And I'm with these guys, so I just realized super quick, man, I better train with these guys, you know, because it's going to hit the fans soon, you know. So that was my
Motivation.
that was my motivation, and they also brought me up. Hey, come with us, you know, like, you know. So that was my initiation in jiu-jitsu. But that place was very a lot of focus on fighting, a lot of focus on like there wasn't the best
like street
education,
street
you know what
stuff.
I mean?
Yeah.
I was good for a few things, you know what I mean? Like, but I wasn't the best environment, I think, you know. And so then at the same time, because I was in this condo, there was another teacher, a much older guy, that was actually Cavaca's coach.
Yeah.
His name is Elcio Venancio.
Yeah.
So he was a gym instructor. He had a gym in my condo, and he also did jiu-jitsu. Very old school, tough, like really, really tough, really strong, very old school, like just like Americana, Amba, like, man, just the
Basic stuff,
foundations.
yeah.
But man, you get the guy there, you must submit the guy. You know what I mean? There's no,
Maybe, yeah.
you're gonna get it. You know what I mean? So it was very, very good, I guess. You know what I mean? Like as a teacher, it was good experience, but a lot more, less focus, more focus on the sport, more focus on. There's still, you know, like a lot of self-defense, but more focus on away from the violence. You know?
Tournament jiu-jitsu almost.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you changed over to the other gym? So you trained from 12 years old to when at this first gym?
So what happened was, so because this was in the gym inside the condo that I lived, and then he moved to Santos. He moved to São Paulo,
Okay.
where he started teaching Cavaca.
Yeah.
Which is Bochecha coach. People here don't know he's
So-
first coach.
So did you start with the guy in the condo, the Cavaca's coach first?
Yes.
Okay, and then where'd you go after that? And how old were you when you changed?
Then when he left, there was a friend of mine that was
Training jiu-jitsu.
already black belt. There was actually three black belts, three friends of mine. They all lovely. I still have contact with them nowadays. Like, you know, one is a doctor, and two work in a bank, but they all had jiu-jitsu. They do hobby, but, you know, like, they really good at the time. And so they went teach there. So it was one day each.
They were teaching in the condo.
Yeah, so when Elcio went to São Paulo, they assumed they took
Take
over.
his position, yeah.
And that was very nice as well. Like, three different coaches, completely different style.
Yeah.
You know, one to be more serious, the other one to be more like, you know, want to be with us, you know. And
Relax.
so that was really cool. Like, really
Different mix of coaches and influence.
That was nice. That was super nice.
How old were you at this time? And like what belt level were you?
I was, so when I also left, I got my blue belt.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, and then when these three guys, these three mates of mine, they used to train at Alliance.
How old were you when you got your blue belt?
15.
Okay.
15 or 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably 16, I think. So they train in Alliance, and and then at that time, like, Alliance had like just a headquarters in Leblon, Rio de Janeiro. They had like every Saturday there was 10 trainings, 10 minutes, closed doors, no water, and then you finish. You go on the big stairs, like you have to go up and down,
running up and down. Yeah.
crazy times. Windows
Pushing
closed.
to the limit.
Yeah, pushed to insanity, like unhealthy. Some people said if you learn jiu-jitsu in Brazil in the 80s and 90s, you're a survivor. You're not a practitioner. You know what I mean? I agree with that 100%. So when they went on with their careers and they could not teach anymore,
Yeah.
went to change states, etc., Then they said, look, you need now to get a bit more training, and they took us to Vini and Ratinho, which just opened a branch of Alliance close to my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
That's Axe.
that's Axe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly
okay, cool.
what you call axe now. But like, were you still training with these?
Actually, sorry. The Alliance wasn't already set up. I used to go to Leblon and train at a gym called Strike, and there was Alliance. It was actually the alliance of 5 different gyms.
Yeah.
So, and Vini was part of the founder of the alliance with other people. Roberto Travin, Alexandre Paiva, Fábio Gurgel, and Jacaré, right? So they got together and they opened Alliance. So that's how Alliance started.
Yeah. So they made a team with all.
They
their,
made a team
with
together,
all their
yeah,
clubs.
to compete against other teams
Yeah.
and make the team stronger.
So like during all this time, and you were training, you got your blue belt, and you were going to uni at the time as well, or you hadn't started uni at this time. You started uni later on when you were already at Axe.
Yeah, start uni when I already at Axe, and at Axe was really good because Axe it was a club and they had a very professional setup.
Yeah.
So you have your change rooms. There was 30 showers. You know what I
Okay.
mean? There was like 2 Olympic swimming pools.
Yeah.
There was like 3 saunas. That was like insane, and like they have like that's when jiu-jitsu they have like morning time. Like
Yeah.
there was probably one of the first gyms to have like a lunchtime. You know
Like
what
a
I mean?
full-time timetable.
Full-time timetable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because Vini was also an airplane pilot, there was a different type of people as well. There was a lot of more like pilots and people that love jiu-jitsu. I think Vini had a very important thing in bringing jiu-jitsu to people that were not only about fighting.
Everyday
As a
people,
lifestyle.
business professionals, and
He was very big on that, and that actually brought 2 guys. They were big actors in Brazilian TV, soap opera, and they went on newspaper. You know what I mean? There was the media, so there was more media for jiu-jitsu because of that. Good media,
Exposes you to a larger market. 'Cause
Correct.
it's- Yeah.
yeah, and
Professional
they all
working
had
people.
they all had like a particular stigma around jiu-jitsu at the time. You've talked about before that it was like, oh, all these tough guys, bulldog guys, it's
Yeah.
just gang guys
It
and
was
all
on
this stuff
newspaper
like that.
all the time. Any fight that would happen on the disco, these jiu-jitsu guys, and the jiu-jitsu guys, really jiu-jitsu guys, they resting, man. They train the hard, they just sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped with changing the whole stigma behind it all.
It helped, yeah. It was the introduction for a lifestyle. Oh, wait a second, we can be a pilot, but we love these. We want to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
So then you started going to uni, and you were working all that time, and you were kind of like parents started to separate and stuff like that. But I've talked about this stuff with you before. But you started like your own business or something like that with some of your friends, or
Yeah. So when my parents divorced, my mom had to come up with something because
yeah,
she had to get some work again, and she was out of work from the school like for a while,
Yeah.
And so she started making food for construction, like you have to restart again, And my brother and I, we decided to be with my mom, kind of look after her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our our financial situation went down dramatically because my dad was the provider and everything,
Yeah.
so it went down like. But nowadays, looking now, that was one of the best things that ever happened to my life. So
How old were you two at this time, like you and your brother?
at that time I was probably 18,
Okay.
and then my mom, come and help me. So I went and helped her,
Yeah.
and that was in a very poor area of Rio, like really poor area. Like you have to literally go through a couple of slums, and there was low people. It's another world, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people they arrive at work, they leave their guns at my mom's room, it's another world. But she had a catering company, and started doing well, and and I always helping her. I was counting the tickets that we can exchange later on for money, you know what I mean, with the financial department. So I start helping her and see how it works, and understanding, how hard you have to work and all that, you know what I mean, to make things happen, and try to help her out to, pay bills,
Yeah.
So then I started to see how the food operation works, and I was like, well, I can open a juice store. So I got two friends from JiuJitsu. I'm like, oh, let's open a juice store. And we opened a shop, like a cafe, but it was like acai. There was all the juices, there were all the sandwiches, and did really well. We actually we sponsor a couple of jiu-jitsu guys, and one guy called Nino Chambri, very famous guy. He got a Gracie magazine front cover wearing the sponsorship. Nice. So that when became history, you know what I mean? Like there was a good achievement for us. But but then three partners is a really hard thing to do, because it's the more different partners, the more different ideas. You know what I mean? And it's really hard to find a middle ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And
difficult to navigate people. Everyone wants what they want. Yeah.
Everyone wants what they want. Everyone thinks it's different. And should be done this way, should be done that way. And that was the biggest problem, I think, above all, was that they promise the shopping center, when they sold the idea, there was on the plans, there was cinemas, right? And the shopping center with cinemas, there's going to be more people, and there was a cinemas, there was a theater, there was a couple of big venues that will attract a lot of people. But once the shopping started and we opened, they like, oh guys, sorry, the concrete's doesn't hold for that kind of. It was a big kind of scheme, you know what I mean? And like I was like, oh, I can't believe people care, like, are thinking this magnitude of scale, like you still have that kind of thing. So there was so that made our profits be almost like a joke to share between three.
Yeah.
And I was doing uni full time, and I was waking up early, and I used to go buy all the fruits, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I decided to go, you know what, let's just keep going uni, and then I got a job at an oil company, like in my area, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I went with that.
You started in marketing, advertising.
Yeah, so basically this oil company spends a lot of money. So people send projects, and the oil company like sponsor or pay for a project. And for example, oil company is gonna take oil out of a little city. So that's why I end up leaving. It's a bit of they pollute a lot, but they make it look beautiful. You know what I mean? They put little turtles and they give little prizes. You know what I mean? That's welcome to the dirty world.
Part of the job was to spin it to make it look more.
We're doing such a great work for the population. Sure. You know what I mean? Look how nice we are. Yeah. We look after the turtles. And one day I wake up and say, man, I don't want to be part of this shit. Sure. And yeah.
That's something that you start to realize, though. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do, man. There's always a negative to it. And it's like, whether it's a oil company, like, because like everybody uses petrol and diesel and stuff like that for their vehicles. People don't complain about it then, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same, like, we've talked about this before, about people that are like activists of like, oh, climate change and this and that, and they tape themselves in here in Brisbane, they glue themselves to the road and all this stuff like that and hold the traffic for the whole time. Yeah. And people like, that extra 2 hours or 3 hours that you force people to sit in their cars and you backed up all the things.
They're in idle and the smoke's going on. They would have been there already.
And not only that, they're the ones with their friends, all 10 of them, all filming with their iPhone. And it's like, man, like...
Yeah, what's that made out of?
Yeah. It's just
what's
interesting.
What's the expression, he who throws the first stone... What is it? He who doesn't sin can throw the first stone. It's like you can't... If you're gonna criticize and judge, you better be perfect.
100%. But no one is, and that's the thing. Like, I think it's so easy. They call it like virtue signaling now, where people will go on the internet and say, "Oh, I can't believe it," blah blah blah, whatever social, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like social issue or social scenario that's like big in the in the media at the moment, or whatever, they say, "Oh, this is what I believe on this," and they go with the majority and show how good a person they are. But I know what you're saying, man. It's just interesting.
But that, I think, look, there's different scenarios. Like my scenario was like just myself realizing within myself, you know what I mean? Like it's a self-conscious kind of act that you just go, look, I don't want to be part of that.
No, absolutely.
And then of course you're gonna, but if I don't do it, someone else will do it. Like I just go, but that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do it. No, I know what you're saying.
I don't want to use my knowledge for the bad. You know what I mean? I want to try use for the good.
And I'm sure in a way it's a challenge because
because everything exactly, like try to find something that doesn't have any negative.
But you know the funny thing, I'll tell you a true story. I started, and this actually kind of like deteriorate my enjoyment for advertising, right? Because I was like, I couldn't find something good.
Okay,
but
working for the oil company.
After that, you know what I mean? Like I almost cut my you know
drive.
My drive. But now doing that thing for jiu-jitsu, you know, like this is inspire me again. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting, like just to have that fire started to come up again, you know, because man, you're giving people resilience, you're giving confidence, you're giving like a healthier lifestyle, community. There's so many benefits, you know. I was the living proof of this benefit, you know, like there was not a negative in this process, you know what I mean? I didn't observe any negative in this process. So
in doing jiu-jitsu or in
doing jiu-jitsu. So for me, it's easy to sell what I actually living proof that, man, there was a lot of benefits.
You
know,
for sure.
And now even like, you know, like many years later, I use a lot of the knowledge that I got from jiu-jitsu to applying other things that I do in my life. You know?
100%. I think most of the people that we've had on here are the same. Like they've learned so much doing jiu-jitsu. They're so grateful. And most of them just like, I wish I learned this when I was 10 years old, not when I was 35 or 28 or whatever. So, no, it definitely is a life-changing, like a turning point in people's lives that they start jiu-jitsu and then that journey continues if they stay and do it. And you were somebody that stayed and did it and kind of like just continued going and doing that type of thing. So the next kind of like part of your journey is like after you started working for them, were you still kind of like doing jiu-jitsu at the time while you were doing the advertising, or you stopped off a little bit? Or?
I always did jiu-jitsu. I remember my coach said something that I do say to people nowadays. Say, look, unless you're sick or injured, in your worst weeks, a term like you're busy at work or busy family or other things, come twice a week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of like maintenance, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. So I had a moment where I was training like 3 times a week, twice, maybe a week, and then having a swim or a fitness guy. There was a time where I was like, I could be going to competition more serious. Like there was a lot of people that want me to do that, but I didn't. There was many distractions for me, like a lot of distractions actually. And there was also the working and making money and help. So and there was jiu-jitsu, there was zero money. Like there was actually opposite. You have to spend everything, right? So at the time for me it was like I didn't do it. Like there was a lot of people actually annoy me so much to do it that I did a couple times, and then I would do okay, and then people go, man, no, you have to go to this one. No, you can't miss that one. No, I'll get someone to do your physical preparation. I remember before I stopped like doing these things, like there was a guy doing like, I don't know whoever was paying, but there was a guy doing my physical preparation and stretching and nutritionist. That was good, you know. But so I learned, which I think is interesting right now, because I actually learn to observe, because I spar and I help a lot of people in my gym, and I'm very proud of them, and I did it. I would do it everything again to help them to go in that path. Didn't want it, but I was so happy they were doing, and they made my training better. And I observe a lot on what they actually need to abstain to actually go to that path, what they have, the characteristics they must have.
Yeah.
What are the things that they have to go, oh, look, I can't do that if I want to go here hard, And I think this was very interesting, like to be very close to it, but always observing.
From the outside, not
from the
doing it
outside,
themselves.
and observing and helping.
That's an interesting point, like, because that happens with a lot of scenarios. Like, when you're inside whatever you're experiencing, whether it's training to be a competitor, relationship issue, business problem, whatever, while you're inside it, because you're affected by emotion, because we're human beings, and it's not possible to just like be completely logical all the time and be like, oh, I should do this decision, this is the best option. You don't see clearly, but people that are like around it or next to it always have a clearer vision, because they're not actually affected by it, because it's not happening to them, or they're not inside the actual, the circumstance. So that's a really interesting point, man.
I trust that a lot into that. Even nowadays, I have close friends that I trust that thought process, and you know what I mean. And I know they want the best for me. That sometimes I will actually ask their opinion.
Yeah.
And knowing that I'll filter, but I'll take their opinion on board because they see from the outside. And some people do that with me too.
Yeah.
I totally see the value.
But it's interesting, like even the guys that are good competitors, a lot of the time they're not great coaches, or they're not great teachers or whatever, because they're just were the ones doing the thing or performing the thing, and they don't have that propensity to actually recognize, like, wait a second, these are the characteristics, these are the things that have to be done to achieve that. Because you're talking about competing, and you were around a lot of guys that were competing and training to compete and stuff like that, and it kind of gives you like a different view on stuff that you can see that will indicate that person or these individuals are going or doing the right things to achieve what they want to achieve, if they want to be a competitor in jiu-jitsu. So that's an interesting point that you can apply, anywhere, man. You can apply it in business, you can apply it in relationships, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But and there's another thing as well that I was thinking, actually, that like when you do like a group sport, for example, you do soccer or you do rugby, you can always blame, oh, but that guy was bad today, or the team, or I was doing great, but that guy didn't give me the ball, or there's gonna be 1,000 more options to create an excuse. But when you do it like the jiu-jitsu sport, is like it's everything on you. So like if you done great, you done great. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't do great, well, what can I improve? So you're gonna improve. You know what I mean? Like if you're a professional, you know what I mean? So there also, I think the solo person like sport gives you. It's very important to observe, because there are to be addressed all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's easier to address it. This is a one individual thing. Whatever he done great. Whatever has to get better had to get better.
I experienced that a lot competing early as a white belt. I actually competed quite a bit compared to what I do now, but just getting smashed on the first few competitions and realizing, it was very painful and emotionally and physically.
Yeah,
but realizing I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop now, because what do I have to address? What are these things? And I really worked on them, and then winning a couple of matches, you feel what I fixed actually was applied, and I did it myself. I mean, I have a team and everything, but on the mat, that in those matches, and it was very rewarding, I found. And even though it's on a low level, it was the goalposts were very narrow. It felt amazing at the time to go, I actually tried extra hard, applied some
fixes and adjustments.
The
advice people are giving me, and it actually worked in a competition. And
and you need to take all the credits, you know what I mean? Because you win, you work hard, you got the confidence, you know what I mean? Like, it's regardless the level, you made it happen, so.
Especially with teammates too, who'd seen me, people who'd come to a lot of the competitions who were at Gaha, teammates. It was they'd watched me lose, and then to be encouraged when they saw I'm finally getting better.
Well, look, when people gonna win, they're gonna lose, but I think one important indicator to see if someone is gonna be doing extremely well is how they come from a loss. The guy come from a loss and try to get better and perform better and try to improve their moves, rather than coming from a loss and just, or even from a win as well, but just go celebrate too much and be outside. That happens a lot. A lot of guys have a lot of talent, like itself, And talent enough doesn't cut it. You know, talent. A guy can be. Let's say I have talent needs a hard work for the guy to become a genius, right? Like extremely. Like talent itself doesn't make a guy a genius in the sport. He needs hard work and talent. You know, if he doesn't have the talent, it's just hard work. I don't think you're ever gonna become a genius, right? But to become the next genius, like in that sport, it's hard work and talent together.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. You got to have some X factor, but you also got to work hard. There's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of individuals in business and investing in jiu-jitsu and rugby and NFL and whatever that were talented guys but just couldn't hold it together for long enough.
Because you get in the comfort zone. Comfort zone does this.
Well, yeah, but for these guys, it becomes easy, man. And like we've talked about on this podcast or in person so many different times, when things come easy to you, you don't have the same appreciation for things. So you don't have the drive to work hard and make things happen because it's easy to you. And for a lot of guys, that's being athletic. So why the hell are they going to work hard to get good footwork, or why the hell are they going to work hard to improve this small aspect of what they're doing when I'm already good at everything? You know what I mean? That's like the attitude that a lot of people come from. And unfortunately, the difference between being great, exceptional, and then somebody that's like a Hall of Famer are like 1% differences, man. Somebody that's decent and good and somebody that's exceptional, like in a sprint, it's like milliseconds. It might be one whole second maybe, who knows? And then somebody that's exceptional and a guy that's going to be a world record holder is 0.01 milliseconds.
But to make that, the effort
to make that guy the Hall of Famer guy, the effort that guy does is that guy's training from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. every day, and the guy that's exceptional is, maybe, training 2 hours less, and then the guy that's great maybe trains 4 times a week. But like the output that you have to do to gain that 0.001% in your fastest run ever is just consistent crazy work for like the majority of your life, man. You have to dedicate your life to do that stuff. So I just find it interesting because a lot of people like to complain and go, oh man, that life would be amazing, and like people just don't know the realities because they've never even tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never even tried.
True. And you think about jiu-jitsu, in jiu-jitsu is one of the few things that is 100% accountability. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't move well, it's gonna come well. If the guy didn't move well, man, what you need to learn something from this. You know what I mean? There's no other way. Otherwise, you're gonna get you again. Do you know what I mean? And you cannot not be accountable. If you're not accountable, if you're gonna blame, you know what I mean, you're not gonna get good.
Yeah, you make any excuse for anything, it's not going to help you at all.
Yeah, there's no excuse in life.
The only person that suffers is you, man, in the end.
Man, I had a lot of people early on tell me, oh, you should stop. Like, because I lost a couple of matches, and how'd you go? And I go, oh, man, didn't do very well, and I need to work on this. And they're like, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you should stop. And that, if anything, that made me
want to do it more.
And I was like, no, I just want to try harder and like be better.
But the best things, I was thinking about that today. The best things I've done at the beginning, a lot of people told me that I was crazy.
That you shouldn't do it. You should quit.
And then later on, some of the people came and said, "Man, I actually told you that. I'm sorry, but you actually was the best thing done." I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting."
That's interesting that people even do that. Most people won't tell you like, "Oh man, I said the wrong thing. Congratulations, good job." Yeah. But like,
just be quiet. Radio silence.
I think that comes from like an internal insecurity from everybody. Like. Like people project that stuff because they don't have the audacity or the confidence or whatever to go out and do the thing that they want to do.
They like you and they like, oh, this guy's in danger. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be safer. This is too dangerous.
Yeah, that's true too. Especially like with people that care about you, like might be your mum or your grandma or someone like that. When you go and do things that you're risking, people worry about you. But a lot of the time, you know what I mean? Like the things, that's the only way you improve as a person. Like you have to fall over and scratch your knee as a kid to learn things. You have to go and climb up there and fall off and break your wrist because that's the way you learn in life, man. Yeah. But the thing is like, your parents or whoever is like, they don't want you to risk because they don't want bad things to happen to you. But bad things are a part of life, man. Yes. And of course you need to be strategic with that. And I'm not saying, all right, yeah, let your kids go and do whatever they want, or let them do that. But they have to experience both things. They have to go and experience things that didn't work out and didn't work so well and they failed. And they also have to experience how to deal with that and come back from that and then find a good place again and then go and succeed again, whatever. That's the normal cycle of the world, man. You can't hide from that. You can't like coddle people away from that. But yeah, it is interesting. Like a lot of people definitely do say that type of stuff. But I just think it's interesting because it comes from a place of like, maybe they have something in their heart or in their mind or whatever that they want to attempt and do, but they don't pull the trigger on it, or they're not confident enough to do it. And that comes out in those little kind of exchanges, man.
Yeah, in hindsight, I'm not really in contact with those kind of people anymore because I feel like they might have, they liked me
being this individual, yeah.
Yeah, or like they like knowing me at the time in the life. They didn't want me to move
on. That's something too. So it comes from fear then for a lot of people.
Your friends will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
Definitely
Your
did.
friends will change because of that. The more you get, like, you take risks and you improve yourself. You change your mindset towards things. You will get to people that have the same mindset as you. This is 100%. You're gonna be. It's almost like attraction. They're gonna attract you. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna need their input as well. Because these guys already doing what you did, or like have the same mindset. That helps a lot.
Definitely, but I think maybe it's like you're repelling these people. Then they're starting to notice it because as you're starting to take on all this new challenge and evolve and grow, they see that you're changing. They become fearful of that. Because they don't want you to leave their life or change your position or whatever. And that, I definitely think that is that's a necessary portion of life too, man. People are on their own journeys, and some people figure it out, and some people don't, and some people accept challenge and do stuff, and some people, just want to be safe and never fearful, and it's all a matter of choice in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, and jiu-jitsu gives you that experiences with what happened. That we just take it. This is what I think I love do things that I'm not good at right now to get the experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then try to do it again, or try to view what I have, the ideas, preconceived ideas I had. Like, if you don't have experiences, if you don't put yourself in there, how can you get better? How can you actually know what's going to happen?
You can't, but like people like to just armchair everything, you know what I mean? It's easy to just have opinions on things that you repeating or regurgitating or whatever, but like, man, I'll never forget this because I rewatched one of the podcasts that we did with Octavio, who's your instructor and your coach and stuff like that. And man, like something that stuck with me is you asked the question to him and you said, for people that want to improve or do this stuff, like what should they do? Or what, like if someone that wants to, follow your footsteps as a coach, or, what should they do? And man, it's just such a simple thing, but it's like something that people never do, man. He said, right now in this technological age, you have access to all the information on the planet. Whatever you want to learn about, go there and research and research and research and search for information and research and research and research and find information. And that's it. And then you're going to become informed on whatever you want to understand or know, and then you can make good decisions on it. And this is something that I just don't see people applying at all, man. Like, whether it's like people are scared because you're changing a little bit and evolving and growing and getting more confidence, or, whatever. Like, it's that for me is just such an interesting kind of concept, because we were talking about you were talking about how people change and your friends change and stuff like that. And like a lot of the people that, you leave behind or that leave or do their own things is, man, they're stuck in their way. They don't want to research. They don't want to evolve. They don't want to take on more things or evolve as a person. I want to be like this. This is who I am. It's like, all right.
But I think the need brings that as a lot of people too. They need to evolve. There's a need.
Yeah, some people have no need though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then you get stuck. Like you have to have the need helps so much. There's no other way. You go. You don't have nothing to lose.
Has to be a must, exactly. Like if it's just something you want to do, you probably never do it. It has to be a must. It must take priority in your life to do whatever change you want to create. Yeah. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's, improving your financial situation or improving your relationship with your family, whatever. It has to be a must for the people involved or for you. Otherwise, it's just another thing. Oh, you know, I was tired this week. Oh, it's hard. Yeah. Oh, you know, my leg's a bit sore. I'm not going to do that. Oh, you know, but I'll argue with them there. I don't want to talk to them today. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to create these things as a must in whatever it is. Otherwise, man, it's just another thing. It's not important.
We're already in February now. I think the New Year's resolutions, you know, I wonder how many of those have stopped. You know, people are like, I'm going to do this for 10 weeks, or I'm going to do 6 months of this, and you think, what percentage? I mean, it's not. Yeah, it is what it is. That's very common. But yeah, you have to.
It's easy to fall back into your routine, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy because it's comfortable. Yeah. Because life's scary as hell, dude. Everything's so it's scary, and I don't want to be uncomfortable for too long. I think we've been, like, as a big group of people, like people in Western society, in the world, we've been sold a propaganda of this, like, feel good, chasing feeling good all the time, chasing being happy all the time. You have to be happy. If you're unhappy, something's wrong with you. And I have a very different view on that. And I like to listen to a lot about psychology and human evolution, and a lot of the people that I've looked at that talk about that, like, happiness is like a momentary, fleeting experience, and it is necessary for a particular function. But as a human being, you have a function to be unhappy and unsatisfied with things. It's not a problem with your software. It's actually a feature. Make sense? It's a feature of your software. That's why we as a human race or a civilization have advanced so far that we have, because you're unhappy with stuff. So you go, all right, well, better make myself happy again. And then you go and do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think now what people have done is kind of, instead of, again, like I talked about this before, but just like the way people have framed their views and the way they've kind of been molded to think and stuff like that is really in a negative way, or not negative, but in a way that's like unsustainable and doesn't lead to positive things in life. It's always about consuming products. It's always about consuming momentary feelings. I need to feel good. I need to fulfill this lust. I need to fulfill this whatever. Joy, happiness, whatever. As opposed to like, all right, like what you did. Oh, I lost in jiu-jitsu and I feel bad and now I want to change my situation. So now I'm going to work really hard and improve myself and my situation and then achieve my goal and feel really great because I did all the stuff that I was supposed to do and it worked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Being stubborn helps, and like maybe even watching Rocky movies. I'm like, okay, this is the beginning of the movie. And then Well, I just knew that I would be very disappointed in myself and probably upset years later if I just quit then. And like, there's no making. I don't feel like there's any making it, but there's little wins that go. It was worth it. This is encouraging. I'm glad I stuck with something. Well, glad I stuck with it.
And you know the funny thing, for example, how the BJJ101 Library was created. Yeah. It came out of a need. So here we face the back of the looking back right now. Start of COVID, lockdown in Queensland. We could not do gym work. We could not. No one could come. No one could train. You know, and we didn't have material that we could give to people. You know, and that was a need.
We didn't have an online presence.
We have no online presence. Like people wanted to, they wanted to keep learning, and we're like, well, we feel like, man, if you're a school, you know what I mean, you're supposed to try to give
offer
the best options in things that you believe, right? So nowadays, I truly believe, right, and I use, like, I'm not talking because. You know, like it actually was created out of a need to start with. So, and I truly believe I use like on the other week, last week, and I used that there is a room for exactly what we did, an online library to help the presential, the face-to-face classes this online library was really well made in terms of professional filming, but not only that, it's divided by categories, divided by BJJ sections.
Yeah.
So it's half guard bottom, it's half guard top, it's back take. And this is a really nice way to make it, to facilitate a lot your learning process and your purposing training. So for example, after 32 years of training jiu-jitsu, I go, and because this is never going to end, I'm going to tell you right now, and you're always going to be learning jiu-jitsu, there's always positions that you need to get better. It's unlimited. And so I wanted to get I want to get better at back take, so I need to study back take. So I go there, I can review details that I'm not using. I can go, why that position is not using. I have 2 or 3 that it becomes a purpose in my head. I go back to train. This is a crucial part. No one's gonna, if you don't have a look at the online content, all right, the libraries in a section that you need to be exposed and need to learn, and then go back to presential and try, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It requires you, my friend, okay? It requires you a little bit of effort, but directs you so well to get better. It happened to me. Like now my back take, like there's some people going, wow, that never got me there before. You know what I mean? Like become like,
rolling
it's
for the
almost like
back,
a go-to
doing
area.
crazy stuff.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. You know what I mean? So that's I'm also experiment and proving to myself that works. And that. And I think this is out of that need that was created, and it will be super helpful now for people that want to keep learning, a black belt like myself, or a guy that just starting to have more access to knowledge coming while they're home, while in the office, everywhere.
Yeah. I got a text message from one of the members here, Uncle Eddie, and he was on a flight sometime, I don't know, last year, and he's like, look, jiu-jitsu at 20,000 feet, and he's watching the BJJ101 stuff on there. And it's like, yeah, man, all of these little things are like supplements to like learning and stuff like that. But like you're saying, it has to be a need. It has to be a must. If you want to improve, you're going to do all the little extra things that's going to make you better. If it's just like whatever, I've talked about this before as well. It's like if you have a mediocre approach, you're going to have a mediocre result, man.
Yeah, I remember.
If you want to be mediocre, then be mediocre. If you want to be good at things, if you want to be exceptional, or if you want to be a specialist, if you want to be a Hall of Famer individual, that requires that level of work. And the thing that I think is crazy that I don't understand from other people is some people believe, or they have a completely delusional view of their output or their position in the world or their quality or level of things. It's like, man, I know that I am not an elite level powerlifter. I might be fairly strong compared to the average person, but I am nowhere near anything. My stuff is abysmal. It's terrible. I'm aware of that. But there's people that do it in business. There's people that do it in relationships. There's people that do it in whatever, that truly believe that the way that they're doing things, or that they already understand what to do without doing any work, without any information, without anything, and they talk from a position of total confidence. That is something that I have never understood. That for me is really interesting to kind of like notice in certain individuals. And it could be about anything. It's like we've talked about this before as well. Everything is a skill. Yeah. And you have to get informed on how to do that thing. And if you don't inform yourself, you're not going to be good at it. It's like most people naturally believe that they know how to fight. And do you know where you notice this the most? If you go to any random pub anywhere while a UFC's on or a boxing match, they all got all the advice and they're all going to tell what they should be doing.
You can't hear him, but he's going.
Yeah, he's doing that. He's making like shadow boxing things.
Like, yeah.
No, get up. This is the most common one in MMA. Just get up off the floor. Just get up. Yeah. You got no idea how difficult that is, man. The guy's holding him down.
Punch him.
Yeah, punch him and just get up and knock him out. That's what I would do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, these are individuals that have literally no information, no training or anything, but they're talking with such a level of confidence. People do that about everything. They do it about relationships. Just because you exist and you're a human being doesn't mean you can have a relationship with other people. You got to learn how to do that. You have to build on skills to be able to deal with other individuals. Just because you're a human being and you're alive doesn't mean you know how to do a business properly or run one properly. And we've talked about this stuff before as well. It's like, that's why it's so important that you get informed. You research, you go and see mentors, you go and see all these people so you get the right information, you develop the right skills so you can have the result you want. And man, like, yeah.
But see, I think the biggest problem nowadays, I always mention that, like, people go, they talk to people, but they actually want to talk to people to show the person that they know.
Yes.
Rather than
So
get
it's
the
in vain,
knowledge.
really.
In vain. It's just to inflate their ego. Has zero purpose in itself. They should go and get the knowledge, and then they have to experiment. They have to try. They have to make a mistake to then lapidate it. Otherwise, it's zero, man. It's,
So it takes humility to accept, I don't know anything about this.
100%.
Humility. That's the
And
lack.
fail, and then all of a sudden in 2 months, it's like,
Starting
I
to have
can't
a-
believe how much I've learned in 2 months.
Correct.
I'm not there yet, but if I wasn't open 2 months ago,
Yeah.
I'd still be here with
In
zero
the
knowledge.
same results, exactly, yeah. The problem is, though, is like the people that you're talking about and like what their actions are is they're not talking to people to get informed. They're not even seeking out information. They're not actually going to somebody that can help them with their problem. Do you know who they go to? Somebody comfortable. Somebody that they're good friends with. Somebody that has the same problems as them. Some misery loves company. They're finding people that are just going to tell them the shit that they want to hear to reconfirm what they believe.
And then once they hear that thing, they go, okay, good.
Oh, okay, good. I feel much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
that's
me feel
bullshit.
Yeah.
Screw jiu-jitsu. I'm doing kung fu.
Yeah, I finally
Whatever.
found the right answer.
Yeah. That's the issue, man. That's that pit. That's a trap, man. There's traps in every portion of life, man. There's so many like mental traps that you have to somehow like navigate and avoid. It's like, you know, you're Floyd Mayweather and you're slipping punches every day. Every day you're slipping punches. It might be the internet trap. You get caught up on Instagram and you start like, oh, I'm getting all the likes I get. Oh, it's the likes, it's the culture, it's the It might be, you know, dating things like, oh, Tinder or whatever. You get caught up in stuff. Or it could be money. It could be gambling.
Which
It
is
could be
super
whatever.
scary.
Yeah.
I can actually lately I can see this scenario playing out with little ones. Like I can see parents coming to me and say, "Oh, he doesn't really want to come," and then I go,
Can you encourage
okay,
them? Yeah.
okay, well, does he want to do any other sport? Because I'm not too worried. I don't care if it's on jiu-jitsu, but I truly believe that he has to do something.
Has to be something for sure.
Right?
Yeah,
And then
I-
the parents going
something
back to me
physically
now
active,
lately and
yeah.
going back. No, he said he just want to be playing games, like as if this is fine. Do you know what I mean? Like this is okay because it's that the kid is that's what he wants to do. You know what I mean? Like, and that is like, well, wait a second. Oh, and there was another. Oh, but I can't do nothing. He's already grown up. Like this is a 14 years old. He didn't want to leave his room, and he doesn't want to shut the computer and sleep. I was like, what? Doesn't like? Wait a second. If it's not gonna be any direction right at this stage, when this direction is gonna come? Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
have a very docile the community. The community's docile. It's like, oh, dreariness. Oh, he doesn't want to do this. Nobody has any urgency about life, man, because it's a lot of things. Most of the time, like if you're talking about adults and human beings, right, everybody is somewhat kind of like subdued their brain with certain escapisms. They're escaping their life, whether it's video games, adult film, drinking every day, every night after work, whatever.
Man, I heard from my mom saying this all the time. It's like, oh, mom, but I want to do this because these such and such are doing as well,
Yeah.
or I wanted to stay. My mom, hey, you can do that. But as soon as you're paying your bills and you have your house, I heard that my entire life.
Do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
throw popcorn in the ceiling and open your mouth. You know what I mean? It's up to you.
Candy for breakfast.
And clean the next week. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and my roof, and my bills, I'm paying.
Yeah.
My
I'm
rules,
doing
yeah.
my rules.
Yeah.
So what is it complicated to understand in this scenario? It's easy.
The problem is like nobody. But
draw a line, man.
No. But you can't do that anymore because now you're like, oh, you're a controlling parent and all. Like, there's all these crazy social ideas that are insane right now, man. So the first thing is like, there's technology now that is so interactive and it stimulates children's brains so immersely while they just sit there like a brain dead zombie that they don't want to do anything else. It's boring to sit and do jiu-jitsu because the lights and the flashing and the
fried out.
explosion
Dopamine's
and all
being
the stuff in there. It's like, and that's the same thing that people have when they watch porn, adult film, whatever. Guys in their adolescence, you know what I mean, 16 to 30, and they're addicted to this stuff. Why are they going to go out and find a girlfriend? Why are they going to leave their room or do all this stuff? You know, they make all these funny adaptations or like parodies of it. Man, like on Family Guy and all this stuff, the guy is been missing for a week. Where does he come out? He comes out of his house, his arm's massive because he just got internet access. You know what I'm saying? And he's got this huge Popeye arm now, and his beard's growing out and all this stuff. But people are actually doing this. And then other people on the other side that are unhappy, they're taking opioid pills because every time you go to the doctor and you don't feel good, oh, here's a prescription.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, my back's sore. Oh, I feel sad. Oh, my life's hard. Here's a prescription. Here's a prescription. Not only are they taking their prescription, what do they consume every day? Bullshit food. They don't sleep well. Every day they get home, they watch TV for six hours a day. They sleep 5 hours. They go back to work.
Stress at home now because everyone's like, answering emails.
You get an Uber Eats delivery, then you get a Dan Murphy's delivery. Like, man, people haven't even got the basic measure of their life completed. All right, and it's like a lot of, I don't feel happy. All right, you do a job you don't like because you need money, and or you're in a rat race to just make as much money as possible, but you're not happy doing it, to buy shit that just continue to makes you unhappy. Like, all right, you bought this pair of shoes, a week later you don't give a shit about it, so now you've got to buy another pair of shoes to make yourself feel better. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people's priorities are just completely, like, demented. They're not, like, people don't live in a way that is to actually be happy because we've been misled. It doesn't work. You need to change what you're doing. But people don't want to because everybody else is doing it. Like you're saying.
You're being misled by the same people that used to say that the turtles are doing so well.
Exactly. This is elite
story.
level. Do you know how crazy it is? This is so elite. The marketing is so deep and so elite. Yeah, it is a psyop, man. The marketing level is so deep and so powerful that people are literally living out lives that they hate.
Yep.
They hate their lives, man. They hate it. But they just continue to do it. And it doesn't matter what they hear, what you say, whatever. They just continue doing the same existence, you know what I mean? They just live out the life that they believe because they've been told this stuff for so long that this is how you should live. But they don't eat food that makes them feel good. They don't exercise in a way that's important, like, an hour a day or 30 minutes a day or whatever to feel better, to be healthier. They don't sleep enough because they're too busy on Instagram seeing how many people like them or whatever.
Or one more round online or of Call of Duty
or whatever. Or another hour of scrolling through nice shoes on whatever online store. Like, this is the life now. And you were talking about this before we even came on the podcast about, like, you do a lot of research in property markets and stuff like that. And how many people own houses, how many people are going to be living by themselves, type of houses that are going to be bigger later on and apartments and stuff like that. The less and less people are having families, less and less people are having marriages, all of these things. And now the most popular type of property is going to be 1-bedroom studios or 2-bedroom apartments because that's how everyone's going to live now. Because it's such a segregated, like, anti-social society. Oh yeah, we're as connected as we've ever been online, but not in person. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, COVID and stuff like that doesn't help with that. You kind of segregate people on purpose, but it just perpetuates the issue and accelerates
and this
the
is
change.
where I found that how jiu-jitsu, it's almost like there's a screaming need for
100%.
it right now because people are not having the minimum amount of socialization, of like having a network of friends, you know what I mean? Like a place where they like bond together, without judgments, without showing off. Here everyone looks the same.
But I just want to say one thing, man. I don't think that it's non-judgmental. I think the thing that's different about jiu-jitsu is that judgment is based by reality. You are judged by the outcome of what you do. And this is what's missing from the world.
True.
When you go to jiu-jitsu and you don't do the work and you don't do the techniques, you are shit at jiu-jitsu and you suffer the consequences of the guy smashing your guard, cross-facing your head, squeezing your neck and choking you. Do you know what I'm saying?
You can't say, "Oh, that's not fair."
Correct.
Yeah.
There's
I wasn't
real,
ready.
This is the problem. There's real tangible consequences for your performance here. In the world, there's not, and that's the problem. You've kind of removed tangible consequences from people, particularly in really well-off countries. If you come from a third world country, it's again very different. If you're in a first world and you have the privilege of existing here, and you are not doing well, that's your fault, man.
Yeah.
That is a fucking conscious choice to be a mediocre or poor excuse for an individual. Man, I've watched a lot of people that, you know, they do a lot of motivational stuff or whatever. If you live in the Western world, it is a choice to be a failure, unless you have some type of serious psychological issue, physical problem, whatever. Outside of that, if you're a fully functioning, mentally conscious, body-abled individual, it's a fucking choice to be a degenerate. It's a choice to be a loser. Because you have every single layer of society set up. They're going to pay you to not work. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. They're going to do that.
Australia, you're talking?
Australia, anywhere. Like
Australia's
a lot of
mother,
Western
man.
countries.
This phrase is mine. Australia's a mother. It's a mother. We'll give you her. Come here.
And still, there are people that have chosen to be whatever. Do you understand what I'm saying? A complete degenerate loser that all they do is get dole payments and do this.
Yeah.
Or just smoke dope.
But see, that's
and do
the problem. That's how it's so important. For example, things like JiuJitsu at the moment, because the more away from this reality of like having the consequences of like, oh well, if I didn't do well or I do well, and no excuses, right? 100% accountability, like we mentioned before. Like people can take that understanding and put it in their life so they can, because what I think it happens, like the less they try, the more excuse create, the more the world gets worse, you know what I mean? The more like everything piles on top of them.
Yeah.
The more they are exposed, the more they try, the more they learn a lesson, the more they go again, the more they feel thirsty to explore.
Yeah.
Because they are positive in learning, you know?
We've talked about this before. It's like a spiral, man. Like the more you're going in the negative direction or downhill, the harder it gets to come back. The more you're compounding and moving forward and moving forward and moving forward, the easier it gets. The easier it gets. You build momentum, man. And like you're saying, it's like some people have been like, oh, you know, I'm behind. You know, I've been a bit lazy for the last year. And you talked about this with jiu-jitsu as well. They take a year off for an injury. And now that they realize there's other people been training for a year that they used to beat, they don't want to go back anymore. Yeah. I'm not going back and losing to those people. Yeah. Screw that. So
that's it.
So they quit because it becomes this rock that's too big to shift now. It gets so heavy that they cannot move it. And that's a decision too, you know what I mean? That's a choice that they're making. This thing, I don't want to suffer again because I wasn't suffering in that way before, so no, I'm not doing it anymore. Pretty poor attitude to get anything out of life, but that's the easiest way, man. That is the easiest way. So, all right, keep following the easy path. Again, shitty results, mediocre life, whatever. You know what I mean? Everything's a choice, man. Outside of being in a very financially poor scenario, third world country, whatever, if you live in Australia, if you live in the US, if you live in the UK, if you live in New Zealand or Canada, if you live in these scenarios that are first world countries, in the Scandinavian countries, whatever, you have no fucking excuse, man. You have nothing to draw from. You don't have a real excuse unless, again, you have some type of disability, some type of mental illness, whatever. You've got no excuse. If you're not happy with your situation, just fucking do something about it. The problem is it's almost encouraged to play the victim role in the world now. It's encouraged to just be like, life's hard, I have this disorder, I'm a celiac. That means that I can't get my diet organized. Whatever.
In first countries, you will get catered. So that's why a lot of people play these. But what they don't understand, you get catered just like that. So it's gonna be always very, very average.
So there's a ceiling there.
There's a ceiling where your complaint will take you, rather. And if you put your sleeves up and then you do something, you can take. The sky's the limit. And like things that you achieve that you never dream of, you know what I mean? And then you will motivate you, like, to work harder, to make more things happen, you know? You're never gonna be a loser. You're always gonna learn a lesson. That phrase is, I take by to my life. You know what I mean? Like, this is always a lesson. And then you're going to have another chance to, because you're out there, you're going to do it again. And then now so that's the way.
I think a lot of people think that the juice is not worth, like the juice, the squeeze not worth the juice or whatever. Like this is what starts to happen because there's tangible figures you can give people to that. Like I think there's like some financial figure for like financial freedom. Like after you earn like, I think it's like $80,000 in like Australian currency, like anything after that is not going to change your quality of life. Do you know what I'm saying? After you earn a certain amount of money, it doesn't actually change your quality of life.
True. You can still travel to your Bali, have your tongue.
No, but like all of your basic needs are covered.
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
but you can still travel overseas even.
Yeah, of course,
You know what I mean?
even with this
That's
money.
what
But
I'm
like,
saying.
yeah, absolutely. But like all your basic needs, which includes entertainment and all that stuff,
You have
is
your
covered
gourmet pizza once a
at
month.
that. Yeah, correct. Is covered at that amount.
So why try harder?
Why am I going to try? Why am I going to try to earn, $80,000 when I can make $50,000 a year doing government payments? Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're just like, why the hell am I going to work that hard for an extra $20,000-$30,000, whatever? Like this is how people think about things. You know what I'm saying? From what I see or recognize or notice, or it could be a physical goal, it could be whatever. Why am I going to lose an extra 2 kilos on my body fat? I don't care or whatever. It's for a lot of people. Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to do that? It's not worth it for me.
But I think there's a lot of people putting effort there, Anto, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of people trying to make things happen and try to pursue things that they like. Australia gives this option, right, to recreate yourself professionally. Super easy here. But I think that the focus is too much in the material world, consuming. Look at me now.
100%.
So, look at me, always looking great. And then excuse for, it's never been that hard to purchase a place, never been that hard to go travel. There's always an excuse, to balance lifestyle. Like there's always, but I think people are playing the game to show other people, right? And they forget that if there is any game, it's you and yourself, right? Forget about everyone. And the game is like, what can you do better today to make a difference? Because if you do the exact what you did yesterday, it's going to be exactly the same result. And that's it. There's no... The last concern should be show other people. You're probably even better not showing other people. Build something, you know what I mean? Go for it, man.
Go silent for a few years and then...
do something.
Just work hard.
People notice you, man. Yeah. Don't worry. Do the right thing. You got to know. If that's what you're looking for, you got to notice. Don't worry. For the right purposes,
It'll be organic too. You're not trying to, hey, check this out. Someone might just go, hey, I noticed you've been doing this.
Yeah. Speaking of like that type of thing, though.
And people that give you value for these things as well, they're not the really people that are going to be, they're really
not genuine.
Value for you, man.
No, they're not
the
genuinely.
really ones you want to care about.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
But speaking of like these types of actions and stuff like that, like I just want to come back to like kind of full circle. Like, what was it like moving to Australia and that kind of like challenge and everything like that?
For me, I realized very, very early that in my mind in Brazil, I thought that there is a ceiling for your financial.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is like
just based on like what the economic situation of the country.
The economic situation. You look at the salaries. You look at what people. You basically what my line of thought at that time was like, it's very simple. I said, look, my parents have this situation here. If I work, I did 5 years of university. My first job, the guy said, "Oh, you're gonna get some experience working for us." You know what I mean? Like, come for free. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me, right?
Like
I studied 5 years. Yeah.
Internship.
And then, internship. And then I put on the paper, parking for my car, food, coffee, blah, blah, blah. I was like, shit, I'm paying like $3,000 to go to work. I have to pay, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm going, man, this can be right, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so let's say I do this, which I did, don't get me wrong. And then, okay, well, how much I can get, you know what I mean? Like after this, blah, blah, blah. So I start going like, okay, this doesn't add up. Like, so, I mean, and then aside from the financial thing, right? Because I always look into the being unequal. Brazil is super unequal and most unequal place in the world. So you have people with a lift in their houses, like lifts, like everywhere. fences that are like 5 meters high, you know, with like. But my dad lives in a condo that is 30 guards, armed guards. You know what I mean? Like this is another world, right? But as soon as you leave that bubble,
There's people with no shoes.
there's people with no shoes. You have to put your money inside your shoes and have $5 in your wallet, because if someone comes to steal, you go, here you go. That's all I have,
Yeah.
mate. You know? Yeah, it's so it's super unequal. So that brought me to, it doesn't make you feel nice, because okay, man, my family can provide, my family like, but I don't like have people beside me that they have no chance. You know what I mean? Like, and it's different than like they cannot do much, man. You know what I mean? They can, but there's not there, man. You know, like it's not a fair.
It's not the
game.
same opportunity for them. Yeah.
Not nothing to start. You know what I mean? There's not like a trade ship that they can join tomorrow. It's not like that. You know, so that hurts me, man. Like I didn't feel, and there was nothing being done. It's all corruption a lot, you know. So I had a dream to learn English. Then I was like, man, Australia looks good, sunny. They like Barbies, which is like, you know, tick tick. The weather's good, tick. You know, and that's how I choose, you know. And then I came here. When I arrived here, went to Sydney first. When I arrived in Sydney, I saw these barbecues at the beach, man, with the button. They boom, everything, the birds come in. I was like, man, this is paradise, you know what I mean? And for free as well. And then I look at the place, almost zero violence, you know what I mean? Like people, you can achieve your goals, you know, no matter what you do, you can carry on. And it was like, I want to grow up. I want to put myself in a position there like, okay, let's go. Let's see what you can do. You know what I mean? This is not easy, but it's the best thing I ever done in my life. You know?
Yeah,
Awesome.
man. But big challenges give big rewards, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I also remember you mentioning about Australia, that there was an ability to, if you needed to put that extra work in and do a side hustle, it was a lot easier, you found, in Australia to have, I don't know how you mentioned it, but it was like there was more opportunity here to put, I'm going to do this weekend thing, I can get that extra money. You found there was...
It actually means more here, you know what I mean? It's more lucrative. Like I said before, you have no excuse to not reach your financial goals. Whatever your goals are in a Western country, like you don't have an excuse, because you doing a side job there as a guy that is poor, that has no money, he still is never going to... And I've talked to other guys here that come from the same background that are Brazilian, like the loan repayments thing there, they're paying like the interest on their thing is like 50%.
Like you're constantly chasing your own tail.
Yeah, like it's impossible for people to get ahead. Like here, if you work hard for a couple of years, you can buy a house and you're going to repay it at, 2-3%. Like it's something that's manageable that you can actually get ahead in. And in those situations, they cannot get ahead.
Another example is university here. You have that
HEX debt thing.
Yeah, you can pay afterwards when you're making this amount of money. There, no, you have to pay every month from day one.
Up front, yeah.
So,
and if for whatever reason you're behind, that's the end.
So if you already start from a position where you can't afford physically to do any of those things, unless the government contributes or helps in some way, or someone else that comes from a better position does it for you, you can't do it. Because you cannot physically, you don't have the skills, you don't have the opportunity, you don't have the option to get into a position to make enough money to go and do all those things. And that's the thing that's really unfair and really hard to deal with, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But see, and that brings, I think a lot of migrants that came to Australia came from where there was a diverse situation in that country, and they brought their idea, okay, let's work hard. They saw this as an opportunity because Australia is a first world country with the biggest lack of people per square meter in the world. So this is a sea of opportunity. Okay, so this is literally
an extremely high minimum wage as well.
So labor is always very high because there's no replacement. Exactly, like you get a job. If you want a job today, there's many places that are vacancies around. So you don't have many places like that in the world with this.
And that's the funny thing here. It's like jobs that you would traditionally find in a lot of third world countries or like poorer countries. Like, you don't earn any money to be a cleaner. You don't earn any money to be this type of construction. You don't earn any money to do that. Here, it's the same. Whether you're a coffee guy or you do this or do that, you're all making similar money. So you can actually do something with it.
Which also helps a lot for, actually, when you think about it, actually helps for your mental health as well, because you can then have everything in your hands to make a balanced life, okay? Which Australians do really well. But you can't get caught up in the game of consumism, in the game of like stay at home too much or drink too much.
That's a double-edged sword.
Life.
That's a double-edged sword. That's what everybody that has a privileged situation or that comes from a first world country, they suffer with like the problem of option or opportunity. I don't know what I want to do. Oh, it's not my fault. Whatever. Like their problems in their own head. It's not that they physically cannot achieve what they want. You know what I'm saying? It's such an interesting way of dealing with the world. Like people are so interesting, man. The way people's brains work so confusing and weird to me, because like some people choose not to learn from their experiences. Like this, I experienced this, that didn't work. Nah, I'm gonna do my way. What? You literally have evidence to play with and you just refuse. Like I don't get how this stuff works, man. I don't, but it's interesting anyway.
Yeah, but I think people have to dig in a bit deeper and look for things that really naturally make them feel good, rather than try to, go too much on excess of, alcohol, drugs, games, gambling. Like there are.
But that's all the fun stuff, man.
And it's right here and right now.
That's all the fun stuff.
But I have a lot of fun when I finish a jiu-jitsu training, man. I love it. Like I feel like this is what I needed. And a few yoga class, which we're gonna do now in 5 minutes, guys. Yeah. I feel great, So this for me is my beer. This for me is my alcohol,
I'm with you.
I get it. I agree with you, but man, for a lot of people,
I don't get drunk of it.
They don't see it that way, man. They don't see it that way, man. They prefer to play the video games. Do you know what I mean? It because they're escaping from the reality. All of those things, like I mentioned before, like pornography, drinking,
when I train
blah.
jiu-jitsu, I escape from my reality. I can't think of one beer when someone's trying to choke me out.
Yeah, I know, but it's so uncomfortable for them to go to jiu-jitsu and lose to other people that they would prefer to play as a video game avatar where they...
I'm 12 foot tall.
I'm 12 foot tall and my character's level 100. So because my character's level 100, I'm the king of my realm. Do you understand what I'm saying? It feels better for them, dude. If it's easy, you are triggering the same experiences that they would have in their brain as they would here submitting somebody else or winning a tournament by playing a video game and winning. Do you not understand what I mean? Technology's evolved so extremely that we're able to trigger the same like chemical reactions in our brain that you would have from life experiences, from watching a television, from watching pornography, from consuming food and alcohol and all these types of things. So you don't need to leave your house to experience these things that you had to before. And that's the problem, is now you can have this docile like existence where you don't need to go and do these things.
It must be really good because the kids are convincing their parents that they should be at home playing games.
But man, this is a part of it. This is that elite level marketing, man. You know what I mean? You can't tell your kids off. They're the ones in control. They pick what video games they want to play and how late they want to stay up. This is crazy, man.
I guess the 1% end up being pro gamers and buy their parents a house, but that's very rare.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm with you. I know what you're saying.
There's positive to everything. Yeah. That's right, Tim. There's positive to everything. But that's the case with everything, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's always the minority that succeed and do all this stuff, and there's the majority that are just people that are, mediocre, that whatever.
It's called Ponzi scheme.
No, man, you just have to choose what you want to be. Do you want to strive for excellence, or you just want to be the same as everybody else? And you can go and research the things that you need to achieve to be more than unhappy. You want to earn it. You learn what figure of money that's going to fulfill your life. Go and make that. You learn what da-da-da-da-da. And in a first world country, you can absolutely do it. And it will take you 2 years to achieve your goal if you work hard. Seriously, 2 to 3 years, you can probably achieve your goal financially, whether it's socially, whatever. You can achieve it.
Yeah, true,
you have all the opportunity to do anything you want in these countries, and people just blow it away or piss it away and then get angry with the world when it doesn't work. Why didn't it fall into my lap? It's supposed to fall into my lap for me. I've been manifesting for 10 years.
Read The Secret.
I've read The Secret. I've been manifesting. I've been meditating. I've been dreaming it to happen, and it's still not happening. Yeah, because you got to actually do something. Yeah. All right, Eduardo. Do you have any other stories or fun things you want to mention? Or
I have many stories, Anthony.
We need to do-
Many
we-
stories.
What are we up to? We're up to early 20s, so we probably should do a part 2.
We'll do
Yeah,
part
we'll do
2,
two.
just
This
the
is
stories.
Episode 26.
I'll make the topics and I'll go through the stories.
No, I thought it was a good conversation. Everyone had some good points.
No, 100%. That was great.
Absolutely.
That was great. That was awesome.
But yeah, no, we definitely should go into some of those stories. You know, talk about Nina Shembri and in Brazil and all this stuff.
Definitely, man. We can
Yeah.
do it. We can do it. We should definitely should do.
Yeah.
Should do.
All right,
But thank you very much, guys. I
We'll
appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Eduardo, for sharing.
And yeah, let's do some yoga.
It was
Good.
yoga time.
Namaste.